Hello, my viewers. I am Shukla Choudhury and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we are going to discuss a very famous poem of a very famous poet, Mr. Robert Frost. Yes, the famous Robert Frost. And his poem, Birches, is what I will discuss today because it's part of so many school and college and university syllabus, including our present ISC syllabus. And before we start discussing Birches, it's very important to know about Robert Frost. And a very short idea I would like to share with you all. Robert Frost was born in San Francisco. In his poems, Frost writes about rural people, their occupations, events, and situations. He uses simple, colloquial language of country folks. His ambition was to use the everyday speech of New Englanders to capture their voice with all its rich intonations. Robert Frost is perhaps the best loved of American poets. He won 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. Among his well-known poems are Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, Mending Wall, Birches, The Gift Outright, The Road Not Taken, After Apple Picking, Fire and Ice, and so many more. Now, Birches. Birches is one of Robert Frost's best known poems. It is a narrative poem taken from the Frost's third volume of poems called The Mountain Interval. It describes the reminiscence of an adult about his boyhood days. He remembers his boyhood days and the outswinging birches, and on which he used to have his good old swingings and enjoy his childhood, his boyhood. In fact, he envies his childhood ability of making a new beginning on a new tree. The act of swinging on a tree is a way escaping the harsh reality of the adult world and giving vent to one's fantasy. However, the full experience grows out of a balancing the opposed forces. And what are those two opposed forces? The ideal and the real. When I see birches bent to left and right across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boys even swinging them. The poem is a beautiful lyric. It opens with an observed fact. The birches have bent down due to the snow on the branches that fell overnight. The winter ice storms bent the branches downward. The speaker has observed this phenomenon many times in his life. Whenever he sees the branches of birches down, he tends to imagine that they have been bent by some boys swinging them. With the fall of the snow, the branches remain bent for long, covered with ice. They reflect 7 colors of the rainbow as the rays of the sun pass through the ice. With the increasing warmth of the sun, the ice begins to crack and fall, shattering and avalanching on the snow crust. Such heaps of broken glass to sweep away, you would think the inner dome of heaven had fallen. The speaker recalls that the branches of birches bend down to the level of the dry fern growing on the earth. They do not get broken, but they remain bowed down for such a long time that they do not straighten themselves. Then their trunks lie bent down for years together. They keep their trailing on the ground, and the girls sitting with their hair over their heads in order to dry them in the sun. They look like that. Here there is a comparison. While these branches, these birches are staying there, they look as if the girls are sitting under the sun in order to dry their long hairs. The birches are bowed so that they can never right themselves. They have been like that for such a long time that it's very difficult for them to stand erect again. This simile brings out the delicacy and the vulnerability of the birches. Suddenly, a fanciful idea occurs to the poet while describing the birches being bowed down with the load of the ice. He began to imagine that some boy who lived far away from the town and plays basket here had devised this new game to climb and bend the birches down, which he would then play there all alone. That means, what is his game? His game is to climb and then bend the birches down, and which he would continue for a long time all alone. The boy had climbed all the branches owned by his father one by one. By doing so, he had bent them. The poet says beautifully, he says, one by one, he subdued his father's trees by riding them down over and over again until he took the stiffness out of them. And now, they are all limp. Not one was left for him to conquer. All of them, they are now hung limp. Not one was left for him to conquer. The boy learned not to come down with the branch swiftly to the earth. He learned the noise to climb the top branches carefully. Then he would fling himself forward with his feet stretched and come down gently to touch the ground. In a very reminiscent mood, remembering the childhood, the speaker recalls the time when he himself was a swinger of birches. He recalls, so was I once myself a swinger of birches, and so I dream of going back to be. He now dreams of becoming a birch swinger once again. When he is fed up with his thoughts, when his life becomes too hard to live, when confusion and uncertainties trouble him like cobwebs, when some twig pinches his eyes, he would very much like to escape from this earth for some time at least. He says, I would like to get away from earth a while and then come back to it and begin over. He doesn't want to get away forever. He wants to come back to it and begin over. This is the crux of the poem. This is what This is what the poet wants to share with us. This is the message of the poem, the bottom line of the poem. For it is here that the poet wants his world to stay. It is in this world that he wants his statements to stay. He would like to go up as an escape from his tensions and worries for a while, but only for a while. He then wants to come back to the earth, for he does not know of a better place than this earth. He says, earth's the right place for love. I don't know where it is like this, where it is better than this. Going up on the branch of a birch is symbolic of human ideals and aspirations, the human desire to withdraw from the harsh reality and the dream world of fancy. On the other hand, coming down on the earth is symbolic of resuming earthly duties in this harsh world of reality. The message of the poem is so clear. Balance your earthly duties with your spiritual aspirations. Beautiful line. The title. Now, for the title. The title of the poem Birches is just appropriate and very suggestive. Its aptness is clear because it is used as a central metaphor for the main theme of the poem. The branches of birches swing up and down, going up in the air while bird swinging becomes a symbol of escaping from harsh realities of this world into the world of fancy. It is also a symbol of higher human ideals and aspirations. Coming down on the earth with birch means accepting the reality as it is and to do all the earthly duties. The poet makes it clear that as in birch swinging, going up and coming down, both of them are desirable similarly. Man must attain a balance between his work on this earth and his spiritual aspirations. Despite this episodic simplicity, the poem is rich and deep in meaning. There is a gradual development of thought. Thus, the poem, which begins on a simple and very familiar phenomena of bird swinging, concludes with a note on deeper issues of life and death, reality and imagination, human ideals and desires, reality and dream. So that was Birches. That's all for today. See you next week. Take care.